انقدر سطح حرف پایینه که مایه سرفکندگی گوینده حرف و مایه سرفکندگی ملت آمریکاست. اونا رو کار نداره. لکن یکی دو جمله رو باید روش توجه بکنیم. ترامپ گفت که میخواد از قدرت برای صلح استفاده کنه. دروغ گفت. ایشون و مسئولان آمریکایی، دولت‌های آمریکا از قدرت استفاده کردن برای قتل عام غزه، برای جنگ افروزی در هر جایی که بتوانند، برای حمایت کردن از مزدوران خودشون. از قدرت این استفاده رو کردن. چه از قدرت برای ایجاد صلح استفاده کردن؟ بله، از قدرت می شود برای صلح و امنیت استفاده کرد. به همین دلیل هم هست که ما به کوری چشم دشمنان هر روز بر قدرت خودمون و که قدرت کشور انشالله اضافه خواهیم. به همت ملت‌های منطقه آمریکا از این منطقه باید برود و خواهد رفت. حتما تو این منطقه اون نقطه مایه فساد، مایه جنگ، مایه اختلاف رژیم صهیونی است. رژیم صهیونی که غده سرطانی خطرناک مهلک این منطقه است، حتما باید برکنده شود و خواهد شد.
What do you guys think? You think that's a really peaceful regime? You think that they're actually looking to disarm all of their uranium enrichment? You think they're willing to get rid of it? I don't. Neither does the President of the United States. Neither does Israel. Neither does pretty much anybody in this world that has half a brain. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. If I'm looking a little bit bright red, it's because I was downtown Denver today, trolling over the place where this No Kings protest is supposed to be going down on Saturday. I'll be down there on the street live, coming at you guys from the No Kings protest, just to show you the amount of ridiculous crap that's going on Saturday. Bo Williams coming in, gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Appreciate you, Bo. Before we even get rolling, ladies and gentlemen, let me take you over here. Let me show you, because I know we've been covering the protest and several other things. And by the way, while I'm still talking about it, you have the ability, by the way, to click on the link that I ended up pinning up there at the top of the chat if you want to go see the dead Iranian General Soleimani from the last time Trump was in office. I went ahead and pinned his money shot for you at the top of the chat. So if you want to go see a dead Iranian general, click the link at the top of the chat, and you can go see one. He died in an airstrike in 2020 inside Baghdad because he was fixing to target more U.S. troops. And right now, you just heard the Ayatollah going off. That's a little bit of an older video. It's a couple weeks old, but that was last month when things were supposedly going really, really good with the general. Now, downtown Dallas, before we even get into it, or excuse me, downtown Denver, This is what I ended up coming across. And this is where, by the way, these pictures are right out of where this riot is supposed to take place on Saturday. Excuse me, peaceful protest, before we get into the main news here. It's supposed to be taking place on Saturday. And I want you to take a look. This is a Democrat-ran city. It's a sanctuary city, and they pretty much decriminalized every drug. And so what I was able to find was all sorts of people just passed out all over the place. Here you can see his paraphernalia just hanging out, his little like tweaker pipe and things like that, all that crap just scattered about as he's passed out. That's a fentanyl nap right there for you. Also found some poo on the sidewalk. Yep, so look out for that if you guys are going to the All King or No Kings protest on Saturday. Make sure you don't step in piles of crap over on the sidewalk. Then we also have what's really interesting here. You got the gay pride flag that's just randomly flying, and then there's the purple one down at the bottom that I got told is for pedophiles. I'm not sure if that's entirely true or not. I don't know, man. And then this is just like this drug corner that I ended up seeing where people are just openly dealing and doing drugs and passing the hell out all over the place. All right. Dr. Gonzo coming in with 199 saying Ayatollah asshola. Yeah, that's probably an accurate statement. Sun Wukong. USA has a problem with kicking the can down the road. Before World War II, there was an America First movement that acted eerily like this one. History rhymes. Yes, America needs to learn from its mistakes. We cannot sit back and pretend like this is a Israeli problem, or this is a European issue, or it's something that Turkey needs to take care of. Not that they would, but yeah, that's just not how this is going to go down. And check out this video that they ended up putting out. This is like some Iranian propaganda. They're ready for us, man. I'm just going to turn off this music. This is some Iranian propaganda. So there's a lot of information going around about what Trump has said, what the SecDef has said, what everybody else has came out and said, but we're not hearing from is from the Iranian regime. Well, I did some digging and I found some words from the Iranian regime, so you're going to figure out exactly how they feel on that tonight. Stizzy says, thanks for ruining my Chipotle dinner with the highway poo. Keep up the great work, brother. It wasn't a highway poo, man. It was sidewalk poo. That was sidewalk poo, my friend. Kind of like what you're seeing here in this video. These are the members of the IRGC getting ready and preparing their ballistic missiles, which, by the way, Iran came out talking about how they had a successful missile launch. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit and how big that sucker is and what exactly that means. It basically means that they now claim that they have the ability to launch a freaking ballistic missile that's capable of carrying like World War II size like nuclear bombs. Like, that's not good. Or munitions, excuse me. That's not good at all. Over inside of Iraq today, the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad ended up issuing out a warning and kicking out all non-essential U.S. government personnel or non-emergency U.S. government personnel. Now, this took place across the entire Middle East. Any single U.S. military compound or any embassy that is within striking distance of Iran is being told to evacuate all non-essential personnel. Ruckus coming in with 5. He says, Matt, Stealth Medical was just complimenting your money shot post on an X base. Everybody there loved it. Yeah, most people love to see dead Iranian General Soleimani. Fox McCloud, it's called Street Chocolate. Ooh, I like that one. Street Chocolate. Matt Borderson, are we actually going to attack Iran? Because for over a month now, I've been hearing this. Seems like I've been hearing rattle sabering than action, or saber rattling than action. So yeah, to address that as we get into it, what you got to understand is this administration is attempting to avoid striking Iran. Just yesterday, we actually heard Trump come out, and I think I played the clip last night, maybe, or yesterday, where Trump actually came out and he said that he thinks that this nuclear deal with Iran, trying to convince them not to enrich uranium, just isn't going to happen. And so it's starting to look really bad for Iran. And if that's the case, well, then there's only one other option, which is going to be to strike. And you're going to hear from Trump's latest statements tonight on what he essentially ordered the evacuation of all these embassies for, or why they were ordered to evacuate. Chaotic Clyde says, all this BS has me on edge, as it should, just as much as anybody else. Patrick Loudon, do you think Israel will do the majority of the strikes or more of a combined effort? I think it's going to be more of a combined effort. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit when I open up the map, because Israel has the ability to carry 2,000-pound bunker busters, but what they don't have the ability to carry is massive bunker busters. Now, Israel has its own nuclear arsenal, but Iran came out and threatened to blow that sucker up, saying that if the United States and Israel end up attacking them, that Iran is going to target Israel's nuclear arsenals. They also threatened to release a bunch of information and documents that show where they're being stored to other people that would want to do Israel harm, along with some other allies, allegedly. 2,000 Lamar coming in. When will you be downtown for this Denver this Saturday? Would love to meet up. I got some good food and bar spots to recommend. Oh, 2000 Lamar, we'll get there, brother. We'll get there. It's going to be for the protest, so I'll be down there for the protest, so you can look out for me down there. I'm not exactly willing to put out my information where exactly I'm going to be and when I'm going to be, because I don't really feel like having the op out there looking for me. Just throwing that out there. A lot of people don't like me. I was actually riding the train out of Denver earlier today, and some guy saw me and apparently knows my face because, or I just have one of those faces that he likes to flip off, because he looked at me and waved, and then he was like, oh, no, gave me the middle finger. So yeah, lots of really kind people over there right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to Flight Radar real quick, and we're going to take a look at Iran in the Middle East. Just a couple hours ago, we ended up getting notification, and I mean, probably about 4 hours ago, somebody came out and said that an entire squadron of Israeli fighter jets ended up taking off out of Israel and was spotted flying over top of Syria. And then reports started coming out talking about military aircraft that were buzzing over Iraqi airspace. Now, that's interesting within itself that you have the military aircraft buzzing over Iraqi airspace, but you got to remember, U.S. also has aircraft over there. But what we ended up finding out later on, or what actually ended up coming out, was a report from like Northern Erbil that it was like rotary wing asset or rotary assets, not fixed wing assets, i.e. it was helicopters and not fast movers or anything of that nature that would be going over there. But what we did see reports of that actually came out, I might have a graphic of it that shows you, is refueling tankers, all right, U.S. KC-130 refueling tankers that were, I believe it was KC-130s, whatever, refueling tankers nonetheless, that were taking off from Saudi Arabia, and they were flying up, they took off, and then they flicked off their freaking radar, their transponders, and then we're up in the sky. So what I actually think is going on as we look at that right now, and we're going to get there in a minute, because I want to calm everybody down, give you a little bit of meat and potatoes up front for what Matt thinks is actually going on, is I think that these aircraft that ended up taking off from Israel are likely there to defend Israeli airspace. They are concerned about Iran, shoot munitions at them at any moment, and so they launched a buttload of aircraft in order to take care of that. But you also have to remember that over inside of Lebanon, you still have ongoing airstrikes that are taking place by Israel. So it is also possible some of those aircraft could have broken away, gone over, like doing sorties over Lebanon, all sorts of crap that they could be doing. But high probability that they're in the sky in order to protect their airspace. That's what I think. I also think that the U.S. Embassy, the U.S. Consulate over in Erbil, pretty much any U.S. freaking government compound is absolutely fair game for Iran. Why? Because Iran said it. I think you guys actually just heard the Ayatollahs say it, if I remember correctly. Now, I told you that we want to hear from Iran. And just 2 days ago, Iran ended up putting this out. So the Islamic Republic of Iran, their official account ended up making this statement from Donald Trump. Okay, they said they just ended up sharing this crap.
We have a meeting with Iran on Thursday, so we're going to wait till Thursday.
And what's the main impediment to getting a deal?
Well, they're just asking for things that you can't do. They don't want to give up what they have to give up. You know what that is. They seek enrichment. We can't have enrichment. We want just the opposite. And so far, they're not there. I hate to say that, because the alternative is a very, very dire one, but they're not there. They have given us their thoughts on the deal, and I said, it's just not acceptable.
Was the main topic for Prime Minister Netanyahu today when you spoke?
I would say, yeah. I don't know what else. I can talk about the weather.
Well, you can talk about Lebanon.
So that is what the Iranian regime ended up sharing, putting it out there, basically throwing it out. And it was 2 days ago. Again, this was 2 days ago that they absolutely did not have a deal that Trump would accept. And they used Trump's own words to state that. And the Ayatollah and the foreign minister from Iran and everybody's been saying for months now that they are going to continue to enrich uranium. It's just a fact. And then shortly following that, let me see what day this video actually got put out on. Yes, this was yesterday. The Islamic Republic of Iran said, meet the new Gaza drone. Allegedly, this thing can travel 2,500 kilometers and is capable of carrying numerous bombs. And so, yeah, use your head. Now, what did I say? That it was going to be 2,500 kilometers? That's a lie. Excuse me. It was 2,500 miles, and there's 1.62 kilometers per mile if you want to do the math along with me. It's capable of traveling over 4,000 miles, according to The Sun and Iran's newly released drone. Again, that they're calling the Gaza drone. Now, for those of you that don't know, if we were to go over to the map and take a look at it, pretty much at I'd say like the nearest point on the map in between Iran and Israel, you're looking at about 1,500-ish kilometers, 1,200 to 1,500 kilometers that they'd be able to launch those drones from. So those drones are capable of flying to Israel, bombing, turning around, and flying back. So not only do we now have to worry about their one-way suicide attack drones that they were sending over, now we've got to worry about these unmanned drones, or these like massive drones that can carry bombs that can go to Israel, come back, and then land back over inside of Iran and refit and refuel and head right back out and go over and bomb. But that isn't the only place that Iran ended up stopping. This ends up, again, this is the Islamic Republic of Iran, ended up saying, according to their defense minister, on behalf of the Iranian nation, I declare that if a conflict is imposed on us, we will target all U.S. bases in the region without hesitation. That was put out at 3:26 a.m. Central Standard Time here in the United States of America, so about midday over inside of Iran. Sky God in the house coming in gifting out 20 Speak the Truth memberships, ladies and gentlemen. He's here dropping his big old schlong with his 20 memberships. Thank you, Sky God. Greatly appreciate you. So, in the last couple days, not only have we heard chants of death to America, death to Israel, they released the Gaza drone, and then the defense minister says that if there is an attack, that they are going to go after all U.S. bases in the region. So, it doesn't matter if the United States takes part in an attack on Iran. If Israel decides to do this unilaterally without U.S. help, U.S. bases are still going to be threatened by Iran. So does that give the U.S. very good reason to go over and join in on this strike? If Israel and Netanyahu says they're going to do it anyways, well, guess what? We might as well take part in it. Bravo 6. Matt, if you reach 500,000 subs, you can't wear the NFG shirt anymore. Yeah, you know, we'll see if I end up reaching that 500K. I don't know why I can't wear the NFG shirt, man. I don't know. Why wouldn't I be able to wear the NFG shirt, man? I don't know. Can't support friends? I can support friends. You don't want to do it? They've got other stuff up there. Now, over this morning, and this is where the rhetoric really started to ramp up. Over this morning, this ended up happening. All right, and I'll just play this video for you as we go do it. There was 2 separate fires that ended up taking place mysteriously over in Iran this morning. And this is very reminiscent of, what was it, like a month ago when we ended up seeing the port exploding with all of the freaking like explosive precursors and stuff that they had down in the port. Now we have these. Now, what exactly was on fire over there? It wasn't petroleum. No. It was methanol. Now, let me read for you what some of the different capabilities of methanol. Give me a sec while I pull this up real quick. I accidentally close out my tab. So now I've got to open that sucker up real quick and go back in there. Oh no, I lost it. Methanol can be used as a precursor when it comes for propellants for certain different types of drones. So they could use it as fuel for drones. They could also use it as a really crap propellant when it goes down to everything else. But likely, this was part of Iran's exports. They ended up exporting a buttload of methanol. So I don't know if it was on its way out or it was on its way in. That information hasn't been released yet. But either way, it is just one of a series of mysterious fires and things like that that have taken place over inside of Iran. And it is starting to get to the point where you can no longer question and be like, hey, is this just Iranians that are pissed off at the regime? Or maybe, are they working for some foreign intelligence asset that is giving them information on what to do, where to do it, and paying them off in order to do it? And I think that's what Iran is thinking. Timbo Slice says, it's getting sticky. Feel like there's a lot going on all fronts. Almost seems likely something big is coming very soon. I would agree with you on that. Matt says, Trump was seen as a no-war president. That's not entirely true. Trump was a peace through strength. And the strength part is where people always get it wrong. Strength doesn't mean I'm not going to do a dang thing. Strength means you either fall in line or we're going to bomb the shit out of you. It's pretty clear. Peace through strength. Can you see Iran forcing us into a military conflict? And if so, the American people will rally behind Trump knowing he had no choice. I don't think Iran, like, number one, I don't think the U.S. military is going to go full war on like nation on nation conflict with Iran. I think likely what's going to happen is we're going to unleash an ungodly arsenal, like a massive shock and awe campaign like we did in the invasion of freaking Iraq back in 2003, to where you're going to be taking out all sorts of different targets. And we're going to go over some of those tonight. There's one particular target that I think the U.S. will immediately go after and Israel will immediately go after that's going to knock out their communications. And I'm going to explain to you why coming up here in just a sec. But that is very crucial when it ends up coming out to all their, I don't want to say this, ballistic missile capabilities. So, official statement of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. This came out 2 days ago. With access to newly obtained documents, we immediately respond to any Israeli aggression against Iran's nuclear facilities by targeting Israel's covert nuclear site. So they've been coming out with it. Now, here is a video. First one I'm going to put up is of Donald Trump on June 9th, followed by one of him yesterday. I want you to listen very carefully how do you want to say this? How his stance on Iran has kind of shifted slightly. Let me get this up on the screen for you guys. Give me 1 sec and go.
The main impediment.
We have a meeting with Iran on Thursday, so we're going to wait till Thursday.
And what's the main impediment to getting a deal?
Well, they're just asking for things that you can't do. They don't want to give up what they have to give up. You know what that is. They seek enrichment. We can't have enrichment. We want just the opposite. And so far, they're not there. I hate to say that because the alternative is a very, very dire one, but they're not there. They have given us their thoughts on the deal, and I said, you know, it's just not acceptable.
This is the main topic for Prime Minister Netanyahu today when you spoke.
Okay, so Iran's not there yet, and he thinks that there's going to be very, very dire consequences. That was on the 9th. Now let's take a listen to what he said on the 10th.
Do you think you're going to be able to stop Iran from enriching its nuclear?
I don't know. I did think so, and I'm getting more and more less confident about it. They seem to be delaying, and I think that's a shame. But I'm less confident now than I would have been a couple of months ago. Something happened to them, but I am much less confident of a deal being made.
Do you think you're going to be...
Something happened to Iran. No, nothing happened to Iran, Donald Trump. They've been the exact same this entire time, and they've been playing you like a fiddle. I hate to say it, but its channel's called Speak the Truth. I just don't think Donald Trump quite really understood. Now, the press caught him today, and I'm going to do my best to turn up this volume so you can hear it, because it's kind of hard. So I'm going to give you an eardrums warning on this before I end up playing the clip, and it goes up. But Trump got asked why the embassies were being ordered to evacuate and whether or not a strike on Iran was imminent. That's it. He said, you'll have to see. When asked, he said, you're going to have to see. Now, that statement was taken tonight, but he made an additional one when he got to the venue. RDL Snare. Matt, most Americans will not support attacking Iran. Iran would have to make a Pearl Harbor or Lusitania style attack for the people to get behind it. You know, I don't agree with that statement. There was a recent poll that came out whether or not U.S. people wanted to see a nuclear armed Iran. And I think it was like 70 or 80% said, hell no. Nobody wants to see Iran with nuclear weapons. Nobody in America wants to see Iran with nuclear weapons. That would be a danger. Not even Russia wants Iran to have nuclear weapons, for crying out loud. J-Dog says, time to prep up, people. It is going down. I would agree with that. I think sometime here in the very near future, we're going to end up seeing strikes either by Israel or Israel combined with the United States. And I think the United States is going to be given an option by Netanyahu, because when Bibi says it's go time and we're going to go bomb Iran, the United States really doesn't have an option, but whether or not they're going to play ball. Like, they have to, because all of our forces in the region are going to be threatened. Israel is going to be dropping U.S.-made bombs along with their own, flying U.S.-made aircraft. So Iran's going to blame us regardless. So the U.S. actually has to get behind this one way or another, and they're going to get pressured into it if they don't like crap or get off the pot pretty soon. Donald Trump tonight, again, he was going to watch the screening of, I think it was like Les Miserables or some crap. I don't know, man. But he was over at the Kennedy Center, and he got asked about the conflict yet again. Again, earballs warning. I'm going to turn it up for you guys just so you can hear it. Demon AOC coming in with 50 Canadian. He says, Trump finally watched Matt. Yeah, maybe he did, man. Maybe Nate Vance got through to JD, and they were like, hey, man, y'all really need to listen to this retired GB because he might know a thing or two of what he's talking about.
Say it again.
Yes, a question from Newsmax. Could you provide an update on Iran? We're hearing reports that U.S. personnel are being moved out of the region within striking distance.
Well, they are being moved out because it could be a dangerous place, and we'll see what happens. But they are being. We've given notice to move out. We'll see what happens.
Is there anything that can be done to dial the temperature down in the region?
They can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to allow that.
Did you see the change in his demeanor when he answered that question? Obviously, U.S. personnel are in danger right now. Incog Faraday coming in, gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Appreciate you, brother. Obviously, they're in danger. But take a look at his face right here when he brings up whether or not Iran can have a nuclear weapon. Watch his face.
Can be done to dial the temperature down in the region?
They can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to allow that. Say it again.
Well, I don't know if we're going to actually hear from, what was it, like the New York Times, the New York Post, whether or not they get let into a signal chat and we end up hearing it from them. But maybe we'll figure out when it's going down before it happens. MT says, can't wait for Tucker Carlson and others to start screeching that Iran is our ally and we're going to war for Israel as if we have no agency. Yeah, that's unfortunately true. You know, that's really sad that there's actually a lot of validity and a lot of grounds to that statement, that there is very possible that Tucker Carlson could say something that stupid. Sailor coming in, gifting out $2 Canadian. Greatly appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much for that donation. Love you guys, man. You guys are freaking the best. We do have one of the best dang communities. Now, allegedly, Iran has tested a ballistic missile with a 2-ton warhead. Allegedly. That's what they ended up coming out saying, that they tested a ballistic missile with a 2-ton warhead. So to put that into like capacity for you, if like one of the biggest issues that they would have isn't just developing a nuclear weapon, all right, but when it comes down to these ballistic missiles that they'd be shooting these nukes off of to go over and reach Israel or anything else, it's actually kind of like balancing the warhead out and everything else for the flight. There's a lot of tech that goes into that. Not to mention, when you're launching something like this, you don't want it to freaking explode on the freaking ground, and you definitely don't want it to crash down in your nation or anything like that, right? Obviously, there's going to be other safeties, but it's also Iran. I look at like Iran building nuclear weapons, like Russia building, or excuse me, the USSR building Chernobyl back in the day, because Russia doesn't, the USSR doesn't exist anymore, right? So anyways, yeah, that's how I kind of picture that. So it's a big deal that Iran comes out and ends up making that statement that they ended up testing a ballistic missile that big. But that's not all. Just tonight, and I'm going to put this up on your screen, this actually got put out by Iran about 3 hours ago. We're going to go with 3 hours ago. This is what Iran put out. And I want you to see it, because what's taking place these days isn't the same way that it took place back in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s. We now have countries that are talking trash to each other on X or on Twitter. I can't make it up. Here you go. We are ready. That's what Iran put out. Quite literally, we are ready. Iran puts out, we are ready, meaning they are prepared to retaliate back. And the Iranian military ends up putting out, we are totally worry-free. We are totally worry-free, showcasing troops stacked up inside of their little freaking bunkers. For those of you guys that don't know, they have large underground facilities where they push all of these weapons and everything else around, which is what makes it such a pain in the butt. Now, for those of you guys that are asking about strikes and what that would look like, whether or not Israel, the United States, anybody like that would end, like, how's this strike going to look? Like I said, they don't have any strategic bombers like the U.S. does, but the word is that more movement has been happening down in Diego Garcia. For those of you guys that don't know where Diego Garcia is, it's really far south. To put it up on the map for you guys, if I was to button it up and go down here, just random freaking button on a map, you're talking about all the way down here in the, what is that, Indian Ocean, Arabian Sea? Hell, it's like way down here somewhere, right? And that is just out of striking range of Iran, but our freaking strategic bombers can go over there and beat the hell out of them. And we've had them down there for about 2 months now, waiting on this to happen. Some of those strategic bombers were being used over inside Yemen when we were targeting the Houthis. The problem is, the United States also told Iran last month and the month prior that we are going to hold Iran accountable for everything the Houthis do. And they have been firing ballistic missiles at Israel this entire time. It is no doubt that the IRGC has been funding the Houthis and providing them with material support. 2 U.S. Navy SEALs lost their lives back in early 24, interdicting a vessel that was inbound to Yemen from Somalia that was carrying weapons from the IRGC. This is public available knowledge. You can go look it up. Been doing this for a very long period of time, and the United States is kind of getting sick of it. So is Israel. So what would it look like when they end up going in there? Well, here is the problem. A lot of the stuff that's going on over here inside of freaking like Iran, Tehran, all that other crap is buried deep, deep underground. They have these things buried in granite mountainsides and several other locations. So you can't just drop a 2,000-pound bunker buster and hope to kill them like Israel did over inside of, say, I don't know, what was it, Beirut, right? Like, you can't be doing that. Or like they've been doing all across Gaza, taking out Hamas leadership. You would need some serious firepower. Now, the United States has a 30,000-pound bunker buster that Israel was rumored to have bought last year. Problem is, Israel doesn't have the aircraft to deliver that munition, so it would be the U.S. delivering that munition on Israel's behalf, maybe? I don't know. But even then, I don't think it's enough in order to reach down into those bunkers. And so I think the reason Trump has been so hesitant is because there is a very real possibility that he's going to have to use a variable yield nuclear bunker buster that ranges in between 0.3 to 10 kilotons. It's brand new, just came out this year. And that is exactly what this type of thing is designed for, to go after these things. Because you got to picture, we can't count, even if it's a 40% chance or a 50% chance that Iran has nukes and they're threatening to blow Israel off this freaking map, and they're threatening to attack U.S. service personnel at military bases across the Middle East to the point where the United States deems it a credible threat that we have to evacuate all of our non-essential personnel. And we've moved an entire Patriot battalion into the CENTCOM AOR. They've stretched it across the Middle East. Israel has been moving its Patriot systems today as well to take care of any incoming ballistic missiles. They're on the move. So not just the United States, but also Israel is very, very worried about what's going to be coming. So the question is, then, what is to be done? Well, Israel doesn't have the capability of doing this on their own. And if they did without informing the United States of America, there is a very large probability that we wouldn't be prepared in time in order to help defend Israel along with U.S. assets across the Middle East. That would be a big, big no-no. When Iran attacked Israel last year, we ended up having a lot of coalition aircraft that ended up intercepting ballistic missiles, ended up intercepting cruise missiles, ended up intercepting freaking drones that were being shot from Iran all across Iraq, Syria. Jordan even shot some out of the sky. It's a thing. The massive wave that Iran launched last year needed help from the international coalition to shoot those munitions out of the sky. And even then, a bunch ended up making it over into Israel. So, would Israel do this unilaterally? Probably not. They'd probably do it in conjunction with the United States. And the probability that we take out their full strike capability, like right up front, is pretty much slim to none. I'm just going to let you know that right now. I mean, absolutely slim to none that we would end up taking that out. So I think Iran would end up, or excuse me, I think Israel would end up using the assistance of the United States government, and we'd be doing it in conjunction, going after them. Now, the commander-in-chief of the IRGC, General Salami, I always pronounce it Salami, even though I probably know there's a different way to do it, ended up coming out with this statement. He said, "Our forces stand fully ready to counter any threat and are prepared to tackle every possible scenario." Again, that came out just 5 hours ago. Matthew Newman says, "Why not activate and use the rods of God? I don't think they have the penetrating power that we absolutely need. I really don't. I think that you are going to have some capability like that because, again, you need to guarantee. It's not like we have assets on the ground over inside of Iran that are going to be able to, and nor would you, by the way, be able to crawl down to those bunkers after all these strikes to guarantee that those systems have been knocked out. You're just not. So the United States and Israel need a guarantee if they're going to strike Iran that when Iran actually gets bombed, that it's like for certain that these facilities get taken out because the consequences are dire if it doesn't happen correct. More so, there's also the possibility that we get intel tonight, tomorrow, the next 24, 1 hour, who the hell knows, that Iran is planning on launching attacks on U.S. forces or on Israel. If we start seeing movement of Iranian equipment coming out of those tunnels, setting up to launch freaking attacks, so on and so forth, it is possible that we launch a preemptive strike against Iran. So it is quite literally a Mexican standoff right now. Iran very possibly has nuclear weapons. I hate to say it, but it's true. IAEA came out last year stating that they would have, after their centrifuges came online, and this statement came out, and I want to say their June report of last year, when they claimed that they were putting over 1,300 new centrifuges online, that as soon as those centrifuges were online, they would have enough, they would be capable of making enough enriched uranium for up to 5 nuclear warheads in a month. That was last June. We had the ODNI, and we had the DIA testify before, I want to say it was Senate this year. ODNI said, we don't, the Director of National Intelligence, she said, well, Tulsi Gabbard, I don't think that Iran is going to have a nuclear weapon. And while we're at it, let's bring this crap up. You want to talk about something really strange that kind of like lends a little bit more credence to what I was saying? I don't think I shared this yesterday, but there's a lot of people that were complaining and talking about it. Tulsi Gabbard made this video, and she released it on her own personal account yesterday. And it pissed a lot of people off. And I think it's a precursor. I think she did this for a reason, talking about World War II and the nuclear strikes that we did on Japan. If you guys haven't heard it, give it a listen, because I think what she's doing is she's attempting to set the stage and basically say that we shouldn't be using our nuclear bunker busters against Iran without actually saying it.
I recently visited Hiroshima in Japan and stood at the epicenter of a city that remains scarred by the unimaginable horror caused by a single nuclear bomb dropped in 1945, 80 years ago. It's hard for me to find the words to express what I saw, the stories that I heard, the haunting sadness that still remains. This is an experience that will stay with me forever. This attack obliterated the city, killed over 300,000 people, many dying instantly while others died from severe burns, injuries, radiation sickness, and cancer that set in the following months and years. Nagasaki suffered the same fate. Homes, schools, families, all gone in a flash. The survivors, the Hibakusha, they carried the pain of extreme burns, radiation sickness, and loss for decades. Survivors of this attack were asked to put in paintings and drawings their own memories and
I don't have to listen to all that crap, but you guys get the idea, right? Tulsi Gabbard ended up putting that video out yesterday, and now it seems like we're about to go strike Iran. And my assessment is that we need to use those variable yield nuclear bunker busters in order to get down and actually collapse those tunnels and know for dang good and sure that all the centrifuges, all the uranium, everything is buried and is decommissioned. But you also have to think it's not just about taking out those facilities. You also have to worry about the knowledge of the scientists and the people that go within it. And you are not truly going to like stop this nuclear threat from Iran without taking out the Iranian regime. Which is why I echo all the way back to what I brought up in the very beginning of this broadcast that was talking about all of these different fires and stuff that were raging across Iran this morning. You guys remember these? The reason I bring these up is because if the United States and Israel go about bombing Iran, there is a very high probability, because right now the Iranian regime is not being looked very favorable upon by its people, that you might have an uprising take place at the same time. So whether or not we kill Khamenei, which would be the Ayatollah, whether or not we take the Ayatollah out, whether or not we take the regime out, that sucker is likely hiding in a bunker right now. Now, the key to taking his butt out, all right, let me see if I can actually pull this up and find it real quick. I want to grab this for you because this is very important. Controlling the flow of information throughout this entire process is going to be extremely, extremely important. Let me just pull this up. Give me one sec. Now, inside of the United States, we are lucky enough to have not one, but 2 satellite communication systems in which allow us to communicate on secure networks, right? So the government, we have like these 2 little satellite farms. I don't know how to say it, but they're basically antenna farms that allow us to communicate with our secure satellite dishes and things like that all around the world. So we can call up our own SATCOMs and we can be secure in everything that we do, right? Most countries don't even have one. but Iran does, and it sits right outside of Tehran. I actually took like a little image of this sucker a little bit earlier on, and I want to see if I can find it real quick. Oh, come on. Open up. There we go. Let me get the sucker up on your screen so that you guys can kind of like see what I'm looking at here. So right over here, I'm going to mark it on the map so I don't lose it. And then I'm going to back all the way out so that you guys can get an idea for where this sucker's at. All right. There's Tehran. Right over where I just pinned, right outside of Tehran, all right, is this little satellite farm. But it also happens to be where they launch the different space shuttles and spaceships and all this other crap. And like I said, we in the United States of America have multiple of these antenna farms. This within itself is going to be more than likely one of the first things that ends up getting taken out. You can actually see the antenna right here. All right. Literally, that's it. That's what we got. So we can knock out their communication systems and things like that. And if we're able to do that and take those out, not to mention we have the Space Force. I know it's not as nearly as sexy as talking about. It's a very high probability that we'll end up knocking some of their actual satellites out of orbit when all of this is going down. And we're going to be setting them back into the Stone Age. All right. When all of that happens, it is very plausible that these people end up rising up and going and taking over the Iranian regime. And there's already somebody allegedly that has been named as a likely predecessor. Now, the Ayatollah, on the other hand, has been very silent. The only thing I've seen that man put out today is this. Says the parliament must have a revolutionary approach. A revolutionary approach means moving towards ideals, being courageous and expressing one's beliefs, setting aside personal goals and interests, considering what pleases God, and speaking and making decisions clearly and decisively. That's it. Bunch of mumbled words. That's what the Ayatollahs put out. So nothing that like leads me to believe that they're getting ready to go to war. However, reports are actually coming out that a state, and I quote, state of maximum alert has been declared in all Revolutionary Guard and army bases across Iran. So not only has Iran put out that they're ready, not only has Iran put out that they're going to retaliate, not only has Iran put out propaganda videos, not only has Iran announced a freaking successful ballistic missile test with like a 2-ton warhead or whatever the hell it was, but now they've put all of their forces on alert, allegedly, across Iran. Big step up. Tom Cotton came out. Allegedly, Tom Cotton and the SecDef both say they confirm Iran's terrorist regime is actively working towards a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again. The SecDef has came out and said that they are working towards a nuclear weapon. For the sake of our national security, the security of our allies, and millions of civilians in the region, this cannot be allowed. And you heard the same thing just get echoed by Donald Trump. This is why people are saying that we are about to strike Iran and blow them into freaking smithereens, because they're developing nuclear weapons and they're going around and attacking. General Kurilla came out with a statement yesterday when he was sitting in front of the Senate. For those of you guys that don't know, General Kurilla is the CENTCOM commander. Now, he is scheduled to be rotated out of that position. I think he retires next month. And so there's people that are saying that Kurilla is pushing all this and he's the one warmongering and he's trying to make all this happen. But that's not how the United States military works. Kurilla ended up saying, Kurilla ended up saying yesterday that he had presented a ton of packages, right? That he had ended up presenting a ton of packages, strike packages for Iran. And this came out before the evacuation of the embassy and everything else when he was testifying before the Senate. J-Dog says, Matt, please tell Rob I said congrats. 1,000%, my friend. I will make sure I get that done. You got it. Now, he was scheduled to have to testify before, I want to say Congress tomorrow, but he ended up postponing his meeting. So it's a routine, how do you want to say, like a routine like question and answer session and briefing that he would go in and he'd sit down and he'd do with them, but he ended up canceling it. Why? Because we're sitting down waiting for like imminent attacks by either Iran, Israel, or the United States of America, or all the above. Who the hell knows? We could let it all go at the exact same time. Here's the 135 refueling tanker I told you that ended up getting taken off from Saudi Arabia not that long ago. Now, the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the ones that like go into Iran and they monitor whether or not they're keeping up with the nuclear non-proliferation treaty, right? Making sure that Iran's not developing nuclear weapons because they are a signatory to that still to this day. All right. And they have certain guidelines that they're supposed to remain within. They came out earlier this month stating that Iran now has over 900 pounds of 60+% enriched uranium, as probable that they're going to be building a nuclear weapon, but they're definitely in non-compliance. But they were supposed to have a, how do I want to say this? They were supposed to come out with like an official statement or something like that on the matter, but all of that looks like it has also been postponed, but they're working throughout the night. So this all boils down to whether or not the United States and Israel are going to attack Iran. And right now, it certainly seems like everything is laid on the table to make that happen. Everything. And it's all tying back, whether or not we like it or not, it's all tying back to what's taking place over inside Gaza. So, with that being said, here's what ended up happening over in Gaza today. There was a humanitarian aid group, all right? Gaza Humanitarian Aid Foundation. Allegedly, Hamas killed 5 of them and is rumored that some of them have been taken hostage. Hamas has been operating very decentralized. They've been running around like chickens with their heads cut off. They have zero command and control element left anymore, and they're operating in little cells all around Gaza. So that's good. But the problem is that is one of Iran's main little proxy organizations over in the Middle East, and they're about to get wiped off the map. And there's more. Iran also said last year, I want to say it was November, that they reserve the right to attack Israel at a time and place of their choosing from the last airstrike that Israel conducted on Iran last year. They still haven't retaliated for that attack. It is possible that Iran could come out and say that they are retaliating if they attack Israel now with their new drone or ballistic missile or what the hell ever they decide to shoot at Israel, that they are doing that in retaliation for last year's strike on Iran. That is a very real possibility within itself. And then Iran is going to go and they're going to lean on the international community. They're going to go and complain to the UN like they did last year and cry for freaking help. Now, U.S. officials told Israel, U.S. officials have stated that Israel is now fully ready to launch an operation into Iran, with this being its primary reason for the announced evacuation of the U.S. embassies in Baghdad and General Consulate in Erbil. U.S. officials are concerned that Iran could launch attacks against U.S. bases and assets in the region in response to a strike against its nuclear facilities by Iran. Well, obviously, there's no doubt about it. Iran flat out came out and said it. So the question is this going to go down? Yes. We don't know the length of time. We have no idea, but it certainly seems like not certainly seems. I got told that there is no more scheduled negotiations with Iran. Iran allegedly had reached out to Russia today, begging Russia to intervene and begging Russia to try to bring the U.S. back to the bargaining table. But Iran has been doing this for months. And I think it's time that the United States is just sick of it. I think the Trump administration, I think the SecDef, I think the ODNI, and I think Israel and everybody believes that Iran has either A, developed or is very close to having a nuclear weapon online, which means we don't have any time. So it is possible in the upcoming days that we see strikes on Iran. What could that mean? Well, that means that the U.S. and Israel are likely going to be having some sort of a freaking bombing campaign over Iran for at least 3 to 5 days. It's going to take a long time. This isn't going to be like a one freaking flyover, drop a couple bombs, and everything's over. You're talking about these things being spanned across the entire country of Iran, all the way out to like the most northeastern freaking side of it, where it's over tucked up next to Afghanistan. So this is going to be a sustained bombing campaign if it does go down. And that also means that Iran's going to be launching a bunch of munitions back over at Israel as well. Remember, they have those different tunnels. They have those different bunkers. This is like, notice a freaking pattern between them, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, very bunker, very tunnel heavy. So they can take these things, pull them out and freaking set them to launch. And if there's not aircraft overhead, if we don't have munitions that are already trained on there, dude, it can get ugly really, really fast. 1 million sorties. I don't know about 1 million sorties, but I know there's going to be a buttload of them. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me for another broadcast of Speak the Truth. I'll be live again tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. If anything goes down throughout the night, as long as I'm awake, you bet your behind I'm going to be down here and I'm going to be hugging the computer close tonight to see if any of this is going to end up going down. Now, the sun is up over there right now. Mark Wenzel says, Luke, at least pay if you want to spam the chat. For F's sake, you are not getting followers, but creating hate one time is enough. Who is this Luke that is spamming the chat? Does he need blocked? Does Luke need blocked? Does he? Because I got no problem blocking people. I got no problem at all. Yep. Yeah. I don't know. Look, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Thank you. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Turn on your dang notification bells if you haven't done so already. And by the way, please consider becoming a true supporter. It costs you about the price of a cup of coffee every single month. You'll get access over to our Discord server, and we have a freaking awesome community over there. We take live questions. We do all sorts of stuff over on the Discord. And even today, I met up with one of our Discord members over in Denver who actually helped me go around video and take like images and actually infiltrated a group for me. It was actually pretty dang cool. So I love you guys. I love you. I love you. I love you. I appreciate the crap out of you. You have absolutely no idea. Michael Mayo, not sure whether anyone else caught the congressional hearing on the Navy budget earlier today, but there are so many pure gold moments. Question, did you fire warning shots? Marine General's answer, no, we do not fire warning shots. I wasn't able to catch that, man. I was too busy trying not to step in homeless poop and looking at tweakers downtown in Denver and reconning for this upcoming Saturday, all right, which will also be going live from for the No Kings demonstration. Miller came in, gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Greatly appreciate you, buddy. Yes, Denver, BBG, Denver. There is a No Kings rally in Denver on Saturday. I want to say there's like 350,000 people or something like that registered. It's insane. City of Denver told them that they're not allowed to do it, and they're doing it anyways. And so you know it's going to be a freaking goat show. I don't even know how else to explain it, but it's going to be stupid. But I'm going to be down there covered up with my keffiyeh and my hat, trying to blend in and not get freaking stabbed. But if they try to stab me, I'll just stab them back. It's kind of what you end up doing anyways. Hey guys, thank you every single person who came in here tonight and donated. Thank you guys. Make sure you spread the word. Make sure you share this video.